Hey everybody, welcome to JSC Christians Podcast. This is Q.
I'm Eric.
Hyunsu.
I'm Nathan.
Before we start, I want you to stop whatever you're doing and take out a piece of paper and a pen or go on your phone and write this question down and just take a few minutes to actually answer it for yourself because it's the same question that everybody here is going to do. So literally pause the video and answer this question. Are you ready? It's going to be, what do you think you are best at doing? Okay, so let's unpause and resume the video. I want to start off with that question. What do I think I'm the best at doing? You know, whenever you go to like an interview or you are on a first date, you don't want to talk about your biggest weakness. You always want to talk about your greatest strength. That is the most important way that somebody is going to recognize you and remember you. And so, there's a lot of examples of what people could be really good at, like tennis or soccer or math or stuff like that. For me, mine's a little bit more complex simplified after living this life for 28 years. And I think that my biggest skill, my greatest strength, the thing I'm best at doing is figuring out details. Okay, and let me give an example. Like last week for Easter service, we did a joint service with the Korean ministry. And basically, I had to prepare a 45 minute sermon. And I basically wrote down the entire manuscript in English, revised it multiple times, and then translated to Korean using ChatGPT. Then edited the Korean, put it into the slides, slide by slide. And that ended up becoming like 140 slides. And I could sit on a desk and figure out the details of that one by one. And I think it's the same right now as I'm planning my wedding. I'm the one planning it with my friend and Irene, but I'm doing most of the details. And for some reason, I just feel like I can do it. It's the same for when we plan our retreats. All the little details I'm able to actually conceptualize and put it down on paper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So do you run that based on motivation, or do you run that based on like your responsibility?
I think that it started off as responsibility. Like I have to figure out the details. I don't want to go to retreat and just be like, what are we doing? And so there is that like fear of like failure. But at the same time, I think now that I've done it enough times, now that fear has translated to something like love, like I like the details. I like knowing everything. I like planning. And so I think it's become a skill. And once it becomes a skill, I think you end up doing it more. You know what I mean? So Eric, what do you think you're really good at doing?
I think I'm good at like being genuine. Like whenever I'm talking to people or whenever I'm texting someone, like I think like I'm never like trying to like hide something, or I'm never like trying to like just like be nice. Like if I'm trying to talk to them, if I'm talking to them, like I'm genuinely trying to get to know them. So I think for me it's just being genuine and being curious.
Oh, I feel like when Eric shows up to service, either he's tired or he's like full of energy.
Yeah, like I can't hide my like
you can't
my
hide
true
it, right?
like feelings. So yeah.
Okay, how does that translate to the rest of your life?
Well, I think that goes with like how like I work and stuff like that. Like whenever like I like something, then I'm gonna do everything to get it. Or whenever I don't care about anything, then it's just I don't go, or I just don't do anything about it. So I think like that could be a flaw too, where like sometimes I could be irresponsible just because I'm not interested. Yeah.
Very real.
Yeah.
Too real.
Yeah. Nathan, what about you?
I think mine's kind of similar, but like not really.
What does that mean?
So like I think I'm the best at like, or kind of like being curious, as you can tell if you know me. I might ask dumb questions and things like that, but it's because I'm like genuinely curious sometimes, and like I feel like the things I really enjoy, like tennis and stuff like that, like I get a motivation and I want to learn more, so that makes like it drives me to be more curious and try to learn. Like I always ask Eric questions how to like hit better and stuff like that, but like Eric said, like the things he's not interested in. And same for me, the things that I'm not interested in, like homework and stuff like that, I'm not really curious, so I don't like really put my time and curiosity.
So
to
what are some of these things that you are genuinely curious in?
tennis.
Tennis?
I love tennis. I'm trying to get better.
That's it.
Oh wait, nope. Wait, yes, and
Eric, do you feel like he is curious in
Yeah,
tennis?
I think so because like 2 weeks ago at practice, like I spent like an hour just like coaching him at school practice, and he did good.
Oh, then I have a good question.
Thanks.
Do you feel like he is a good learner?
Oh, I think like in terms of sports, he's like a fast learner.
Oh.
But I wouldn't say he's a good learner because like academically and stuff like that, like I could see like some struggling.
yeah, I agree. Like I can see it, and a lot of my friends tell me that. Oh, I'm a slow learner.
Oh, you're slow learner.
Yeah,
But I think he's gifted athletically, so that makes him like
I see.
yeah.
thanks.
Oh, that's cute. Henzu, what's yours?
I think mine is I'm really good at explaining things in a way that the person I'm explaining it to can relate. So I guess like the best way to explain
Yeah,
it
explain that. Oh, that was good.
is I like to find like if I'm coaching someone for like a sport or something. So for instance, what's the most recent one? Like bowling. When I coach Eric for bowling, or if I'm coaching someone for like I used to help people learn how to hit in volleyball.
I play volleyball.
I played
really?
volleyball. I played in college for a little, like
Okay.
club, and then I would find something that they knew how to do already. So, for instance, for volleyball, a motion that's really similar is tennis, and if they're tennis players, it's the same exact motion going up
Serving.
as you're hitting, as when you're serving. And so I would explain it to them, and it would make it a lot easier for them to figure out, like, oh, then if I just put into my mind that I'm serving a tennis ball instead of hitting a volleyball, it should be a lot easier. It was the same thing with bowling, with like when I was teaching Eric, was like the motion is the same as like a forehand almost, or like a lob when you're hitting like
Right.
with your racket under the ball. And I think it did make it easier for him, but it didn't fix.
And what was your bowling score? When
I'm
you
just
I think he's
yeah. I don't think I should
unfixable.
say that. I've never
what's
hit
your
up there.
average? Oh, okay. What's your average when you go bowling?
Like 80. Like
80? That's pretty high.
He understood what I was saying,
Yeah.
but for the life of him, he couldn't stop slicing it. You know how
Yeah.
pickleball, like, you
I don't,
slice
like,
and
for
goes
me, it
that
takes
way?
a long time to get rid of like bad habits.
Yeah, sure.
But like, yeah, it's not pretty. But I have a question. Like, when you're like teaching someone, like, when like, does it just click, or like, do you actually think about like, how do you like relate it?
Yeah,
to
are you a spit spatter, or are you just like you have to like?
Yeah.
I have to really think.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I want to put it in the way that's the easiest for them to understand. It's like for me, when someone explains something to me, I want them to explain to me so that I can figure it out very easily. And so I want that same thing for when I explain it to someone else.
And where do you think the best? On the toilet, or in the shower, or in the car?
I don't really think on the toilet or the shower.
No way.
Well, on the toilet, I'm watching YouTube videos. In the shower, I'm singing, and then in the car, I'm usually thinking. So probably in the car.
I see.
But if I'm explaining something to someone, it's usually on the spot. I just take like a good while to think about what I'm going to say
Yeah.
while I'm there.
Yeah.
So
And okay, so now it's a follow-up question for everybody. But what do you think recently you've been using that skill, that strength, whatever, where have you been using that recently? For me, like I said with the Easter and the retreat, one other thing is like we're going to our honeymoon in Korea, in Jeju-do. And it's an international flight, it's an international departure, and we'll be Irene has never left America.
No.
Except for like Tijuana, Mexico, but that's like California
yeah,
basically. And so it's our first time outside of the country, and so we'll be. For me, I was like, For me, it was like extra. Like I gotta know exactly what we're doing so that like she's not overwhelmed, and then we can just have like a chill time.
Yes. I like after going to Japan, like I totally relate to like my friends who has never gone outside America, like has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And then for me, like, cause I grew up in Asia, like I was like, there's no way these guys don't even know how to use Google Maps. But like that's how it is. Like
Right.
they were like so overwhelmed and stuff like that. So I think it's amazing that.
Mm-hmm.
But the follow up is Nathan, what do you think? I need to think.
Yes. For mine?
Yeah.
I think I already answered this, but the only thing yeah.
Okay, that's okay. We can do that. Hyunsu, what about you? What's the most recent thing other than bowling?
I think for me, it's actually, well, I'm giving a sermon.
Oh shoot!
Like
you are.
In 2 Sundays technically from now.
Yeah, he's doing a sermon, and then he's doing a sermon.
Why do you start doing that?
Yeah.
But
You're getting married so soon.
And,
Yo, congrats.
yeah, I'm doing a sermon, and I think when I found my topic, it's a surprise, so I'm not gonna say anything. But when I found
Be
my
curious.
topic, I'll see you in 2 Sundays. But when I found my topic, I wanted to explain it in a way that I would want to hear it. And so I wanted to find ways for other people to relate to what I said. And I think that's pretty common when you're doing a sermon, is you want it to be relatable in the sense that they understand, not that they have gone through the same experience.
Sure, yeah.
And so for me, I was really thinking a lot about how I can do that.
Yeah.
Because at least when I do sports and stuff, when I explain things in that sense, I always do it in ways where I know what they've experienced before. And so this is my first time sort of trying something new in that I don't know what they've experienced before, but through my life experiences, I want to explain it so that it feels relatable still.
Right.
And so
Hey, that's good. That's good, but you're gonna keep the theme of the sermon secret.
yeah.
Okay, Eric, do you know what your thoughts?
I watched a couple Timothy Keller sermons, and some of them really stood out to me.
Okay.
Well, I don't know which one I want to center it.
Okay. Well, everybody, put in the comments. Not that anybody puts comments on our videos, but if you're listening, on the comments below, write down what you're best at doing. And the reason why I'm having us do this exercise is just like with the 4 of us, when somebody starts to explain what they're best at doing, I think that it really shows who you are. For me, as I'm telling you, I really figure out the details. I hope you can see a little bit more of who I am. The stuff that I do at home, the way that I think, the way that I move, the why I do the things that I do. I think that really shows why, the kind of person you are. And I think that's important because when we introduce ourselves, when we want somebody to know who we really are, you should always start by talking about what you're best at doing. That's what you identify yourself with. Why is that important? Because in Genesis 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And so if the Bible, right, is a book that is written not just for random people, but for God wrote it for his people, right? To learn about God's plan, God's son, God's mission and everything, right? God's people. Then what we first learn, and this for me has been such a good framework for everything, then we learn that what God wants us to know first and foremost is that God is a creator. So what that means is apart from us, right? Before we were even born, because in the beginning it was just dust particles and gas and everything, right? God was I am just the creator. And my expression of creativity will be born in the cosmos. And so that's why he created. One of the questions from onlinequestions.org, 8302-9061, was why did God create the world? And I think that's the answer right there. That is the best thing that he's doing. He loves creating. He's so good at creating. It's who he is. And so, one of the things that I encourage anybody to do is go outside to the park and look at the beauty of creation, because that really shows you just what. Let me ask you a quick question. What is one piece of creation that you are always in awe by? What is something you look at in the world and you're oh my God, that is amazing. And for me, it is always a specific type of sunset. There's always one type of sunset. You know what I'm talking about?
orange.
It's when the colors are pastel. And it's just like, there's just no way that like this is in the sky because it looks AI generated, but it's like, it's God generated. You feel me? So what is one thing from creation that you're always...
I didn't realize that joke.
So what is one thing in creation that you guys are fascinated by?
I'll go first. Whenever I walk my dog, there's like this nice place where like after I take a right from like there's like a drive place, and you go down. There's like muddy and it's like sand, like there's a bunch of grass. It kind of goes down and like there's like a bunch of trees, and like if you go out at the right time and the sun like shines through the trees, like the grass there and all the like flowers there, it, like you know what I'm saying, like lights up perfectly.
On the grass?
Yeah, like it like shines like
Through the
like
trees.
an aura,
Like
It
it's like
shines.
you know, like it's like the warm color like you see on the grass.
Yeah, and like it shines. I'm like, dang, God is good.
Yeah, that was good.
Because God said, let there be light.
Yes, and there's light on the flowers.
That's a good one. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, for me, or it's like I realize it like not all the time. It's like whenever I'm driving, like on 57, from north to south, like there's a part where it's like surrounded by like two mountains and there's like trees there. But then like I didn't realize it until like recently when I looked around. It was like all green for like the first time. I was like, dang, like I didn't like. It was so pretty.
Wait, there's two mountains, tree in the middle?
No, like trees on the mountains.
Trees on the mountain.
Highway in the middle.
Yeah, highways in the middle. Whenever I see like super green things, I'm just like super like fascinated by it.
Oh, you like green?
Like Irvine, like so many trees, like
That's true.
It's very like calming and relaxing.
Irvine.
And like that's what I'm like very like touched by.
Okay. You like teal, right?
I think I like dark green.
I'm dark green, I'm sorry. Okay. Don't you?
I don't really care about like colors too much because I'm colorblind. But I think because of that, I tend to look at like the magnitude. So I like really big things in nature. So like mountains.
That was good. I like that.
Mountains or like ocean. I can see both from like my area. When I drive like to the highway, and then there's like, I think it's called Irvine Mountain. I don't know. Sometimes it has snow on top when it's like really cold, and like just seeing it from even where I am, like 30, 40 minutes away, it's like, oh wow, like it's so pretty. And then on my drive to work, I drive down like the road, and there's the ocean. It's like right there,
And the ocean's big.
and the ocean's huge, and it looks like beautiful, you know.
Hansu, that was the most profound thing I've heard in like a month. That the limitation of one sense gives you the appreciation of another. That because you're colorblind, you see you appreciate the magnitude of things. And so you like mountains and seas. That was very poetic.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so yeah, you know, I think like you gotta also appreciate creation because that is, you can look at that and look at God. And so it's interesting because obviously we're talking about the earth that God created, the cosmos and the trees and color and big things. But also in the beginning, it says that God created the heavens. And you know, in the Bible, it's like you could think about it as like it's like he's talking about the sky or like the space, but at the same time, in a symbolic, in a religious sense, he's also talking about heaven. You know, he's talking about heaven. He's talking about the place where we are gonna go when we all die. For me, 100%. For some of you, 50%. But anyways, God created heaven. I want you to think about that as well and try to answer this next question. If God created heaven, but we haven't seen it yet, right? What do you think heaven will look like? What do you think heaven will look like? And I want you to think about that, and as I give you a biblical understanding of what I think heaven is first. And so if you're also listening, maybe listen to my framework of heaven and then try to be creative and imaginative of what heaven is really like. Well, first and foremost, we know that heaven and hell are kind of like the contrast, right? and one is up and one is down. And I think the best place to understand heaven and hell is hell is the culmination of the consequence of sin. So that's where you go because you sin. And what is the biggest consequence of sin that we already know, Nathan?
You go down.
Right. If that is the byproduct. And Hyunsu, what was the biggest issue with sin?
Issue or consequence?
Sure, same thing. Consequence.
Death?
Good. Let me just give the answer. I'm sorry. When we sin, it separates us from God. And so hell is a place where you are forever, eternally separated from God. And what that means is that heaven is a place where you are always with the presence of God. And that's why in 2 Thessalonians 1:9, it says, they will suffer the punishment of eternal destruction away from the presence of the Lord, of God.
That reminds me of like a verse in Luke where it's on the rich man and Lazarus, and the rich man like looks up and Lazarus is all with God, and like
Yeah.
that, I think that just goes with like what you're trying to say.
That's good because Lazarus is with God and they're
Yeah.
looking down, right,
Yeah.
at the people. So hell in that, and even in that picture, it's like fire, and it's like damnation, and they're suffering, which I think is true. In fact, the Bible describes it as an eternal fire. And I think the best way to think about hell is if it's a place without God. Let's imagine the city of Brea, okay, without God. And so let's say that someone came to my house and burned it to the ground because I cut their car in line in traffic. Now I am like, what the heck? So what do? I go to their house and burn it down to the ground. And because there is no goodness, there is no police, there is no righteousness, that guy's brother comes burn down my father's house. And after my father finds out his house is burned down, what does he do? He kills that guy. And so now it's just a back and forth of destruction and anger and murder and injustice and over until the entire city, right? Our beloved Omomo is burned to a ground. And so that's kind of what it is. It's a lawless place where there is no goodness, there is no God. And let me like almost like finalize here, because one of the important things of heaven is that it's not just a symbolic spiritual place where God is just there and we're just like holding hands with God. It's Jesus describes it as in my Father's house. And if you read Revelations, it talks about the holy city with the river and pearls and diamonds, and you know what I'm saying? Like there's like buildings and stuff. And so it's like a spiritual place along with the physical place. And if you read Revelations, you will find that when everything finishes, time ends at the end of the book. What happens is heaven comes down onto earth, and the spiritual and the physical all join together, which tells us that God's prophecy of heaven being this physical and spiritual realm coexisting together in one place is true. And so one of the things that I think about is, I'll finish here. One of the things I think about heaven is all the things that God did here on earth. For example, the Garden of Eden, where God walked with his feet with the people, which is us, is kind of the image that we will have in heaven. So if you read Revelation chapter 20 or 21, it talks about the Garden of Eden being restored, which is to finalize that heaven is a spiritual and physical realm where God is, and we will never experience death. There is no nighttime, there is no darkness, because it will be bright all the time. We never have to go to sleep. So imagine that. You never are tired, you never are fatigued. You're just always you can always work, you can always have purpose, you can do whatever you want. So with that framework, because I was just yapping a lot, but with that framework, what do you think heaven will look like?
I mean, I think you put it in a way that I've also been thinking of it in. So obviously, like, they're opposites from each other, heaven and hell. And so when I would imagine either of them in the past, I always like to imagine it in the sense of what our world is right now.
That's good. Yeah.
And so for hell, as you said earlier, it's gonna be our current world with no goodness.
Yeah.
Because there's no God. And so like I would always like think about it and be like, oh, like what would it look like? Maybe it would look like there's like a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it's called. The Purge.
Oh, The Purge.
Where it's just constant crimes, constant anarchy, except that it's not just one day, it's for the entirety of...
And that movie is like, for 24 hours,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you
you
want, and there's no consequences,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No...
And people just kill each other
Yeah.
and stuff.
Purge.
That's a good portrayal.
And so that's what I like to imagine hell as. And then heaven would be the exact opposite, where those things wouldn't even like, possibly happen because like there would be no point where we would ever be in like wrong with each other.
Can you give us like, I think the Purge was like a perfect example of hell.
Mm-hmm.
Give us some more. Anybody jump in. Anybody give us like a very specific image that you have, like Hyunsu's talking about, of heaven, the opposite of purge. Merge. Purge, you know?
I thought of Barbie. Not like the actual like plot where it's like bad,
Yeah.
but like in the beginning, like Barbie, like
What they portrayed the
yeah,
world
what they
as.
portrayed as. It's
Uh-huh.
like this perfect, nice world. Everyone has like a role, and then like like it's just you're just having fun all day. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For me, I thought of it like totally different.
Okay.
Like, or I thought like it meant literally like if you go to hell, you're gonna be in like eternal, like it's actually gonna physically hurt, like literally fire gonna consume you
Yeah.
forever and ever. And then heaven, I feel like it's like a really happy place and like a cloud, and then everyone's singing.
Are you talking about Teletubbies?
God is the giant.
God is the giant sun.
It's
And he's green, he's the
something
green
like
one.
that. But like
Yeah.
I don't know. I take it more like literally.
No, I think this is all good. And like one of the things that I think about for heaven is like, I think we have like what we're talking about right now, like everything that we have here on earth, we will still have in heaven. For example, we will still have purpose. For example, I think we still will have like creativity. We'll have passion. Like for example, if I'm a coffee barista, right? Like I imagine that just imagine that you want to be the best barista ever. But you know what really stops you from being the best barista ever? Is that I don't want to go to work tomorrow. But what if you can go to work every day and not be tired? And you have eternity to be the best barista that you can be. And so what that means is any project that I have, right? Like imagine there's a fellowship of angels in heaven and I want to create a retreat. I can plan as many retreats, without lack of resources and God, and you know who's preaching at our retreat? Jesus Christ. He's there spitting bars and we're all like, oh my goodness, this guy is on top of it. I imagine that it's what we want to do the most with God.
Yeah. From your explanation, I have a question. It was do you think when we go to heaven, or if, does that mean your bad traits get removed?
That's a good question. I think that your physical flesh body gets redeemed and renewed, just like Jesus' broken body was reborn, but with the same marks. So that's why the spirit endures, but the flesh disappears. So in that sense, I think all sin goes away. However, I would say that all your traits remain. And the only difference is that for God, right? I think we aren't going to be God in heaven. We will still be angels. And I think that's kind of hard to understand, but I think what I'm trying to say is angels aren't perfect either, but there is no concept of bad. So you might be still a little, I'm sorry, Nathan might still be a slow learner in heaven, but God doesn't think that that's a bad trait. Although on earth it might be a bad, not saying that you're a bad trait, but on earth it might be a bad trait, but in heaven, you being a slow learner, it's nobody cares because we have eternity.
So if you're a negative person, do you think you're still a negative person in heaven?
I don't know. That's a thought. What do you think?
I'm sorry for that. I don't see I never thought about it until now.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. I think you'll have the tendency to think pessimistically or realistically.
Yeah, but like that's not who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Find
not.
out when we get there.
Well, I guess we'll find out when we get there. Yeah.
I see. I actually really quickly wanted to go back because
Yeah.
I was thinking about what I thought heaven would look like in our real world,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought of a really. I hope it's good.
Okay, go.
I thought it would be like what people imagined Irvine was like.
Oh.
You know, people think Irvine is like,
The best place ever.
yeah,
Yeah, they do.
and like, because they have no homeless people. Like, they have everything you need. You don't ever need to leave. The education is great. Everything is great. There's nothing wrong with what people imagine Irvine to be. And so I think that's what I think
Yeah.
like heaven would.
It's like Dubai.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Dubai is actually good.
Yeah.
Dubai if it was Christian.
Dubai feels
Yeah,
Christian.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I have a question though. Like this kind of like going off track is like, do you think you should be believing in God just so you could go to heaven? Or do you guys do that? Because I know like some people say, oh, like, you know, I believe in God because I'm scared of hell. But then like, I never like, that's not why I believe in God. So I was wondering if you guys go through the same thing, and if you think it's a good thing.
That's a good question. I think that for a lot of us, even as we're trying to wrestle with this question, what does heaven look like? The fact that we don't know, I think is a good sign. You know, even like everything that I'm saying, like I'm just telling you what I cooked up for like 2 hours. But to be honest, like I don't really think about heaven because for me, that is not the goal, right? That is just like a reward I get. But I think the real goal of following Christ is to be close with God. And therefore, the closest you will ever get to God is heaven. Now, do I want to get? I do want to get into heaven. Let's be all honest here, right? I do want to be in Irvine. Oh, But yeah, what about you guys?
I also, I think, like to think of it as a, we'll see when we get there. I don't want to be one to judge why someone believes in something the way that they do. So like even with like Christianity, like obviously we're supposed to believe in God because we love God. But, and that's what I would try to have those people also believe is that, oh, I hope at some point that you would love God and not just believe in him because you're scared of hell or because he would give you like money or something, right? But if they go to heaven and I see them there, like, shoot. I guess we'll find out when we get there. I don't think there's any way from, like, I don't think I should be the one to judge how they believe.
Oh, you know what? I have a follow-up question, Eric. Do you think that it's right for people to kind of urge people to seek God through the fear of going to hell? Like it's the inverse, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like instead of like advertising how good heaven is, like you say how bad hell is.
Yeah.
You know, like this actually happened at Encounter Night.
Oh, really?
Where like the pastor was talking about like the last commandment, which is like to go tell like all, you know, all like nations or whatever. And then like, and he was saying like how like us believers sometimes our parents don't even know God, and like, he was basically saying like do you want to see your parents in hell? You know, and like I feel like that really got people, like that even got me. It's like, oh my gosh, like never imagined that. Like I don't want like my parents to be in pain, you know.
Right.
So I guess in a way, like he was like trying to like get people to realize how bad it is.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should be like threatening people, saying like, oh, like do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like
I think it's a fine balance because on one hand, like I think like they do say like repent and but the kingdom of heaven is here. And at the same time, like I'm sure like it is encouraging to say like look at how great your life with God in heaven will be like for eternity. So I think it's like those are like important things to use, but maybe not like all the, like not even like a lot.
you can't just like scare them into doing something.
Yeah.
You got to like.
And you can't try to like trick them into like taking this
Yeah,
dog.
you gotta
treat.
tell them like the both sides.
Yeah,
so it's,
you
like,
need
fair.
to have the right motivation. It's like I like to compare it to like maybe you guys are too young for this. Flirt to convert.
What is
where
that?
You are dating a non-Christian and you want to convert them into Christianity, and they do because
You flirted them into it?
you are dating them.
Oh, like I told you guys, like sometimes like this happened with my friend where like he wanted a Christian relationship, and so he started like bringing her to church and stuff like. But then like right after like they broke up, like she like kind of stopped. So in a way, like she was going to church for him.
Is she going to church
Yeah.
for God because she loves God, or is she going to church because
That is
she
exactly
loves
why
God?
he broke up.
Or
with
he
her.
loves God.
Yeah.
Like he didn't know. So
Yeah.
So I think like that happens so much. Like that just shows like how like people have their wrong motivations.
Right.
And like, but I mean, I guess like in the end, like it'll show. But like, I feel like that really sabotages some people too.
Mm-hmm.
Like having the wrong motivations.
Yeah. Well, this was a great conversation, and you know, if anybody has made it all the way to the end of this video, what I want to say is, this was a question from onlinequestions.org, and whoever asked this question, great question. It is a difficult question, and my advice is to sit down with your own friends and ask the questions. You know, what do you think you're best at doing? And share those stories. I also want you to talk about what do you think heaven will look like. Be creative, be imaginative, you know, obviously with the Bible in your hand. And I think like that is one way that we can share the stories of the Bible, we can share about our lives, get to know each other, get to know God, and most of all, see the risen Jesus. So with that, thank you guys for listening, and that's all. Bye.
Yo.